Unit 1. History. Lesson 1. Final Introduction. Coming out of the cloudy mist, you head to the large doors of the International Riding Academy. Climbing up the steps to the front doors, you see a note stuck to the door. On vacation, the note said, "You knock anyhow, hoping that someone is still inside and will let you in." You wait for what seems like a year, but still no one answers. Everyone must be gone. "What are we going to do, Knickers?" you ask the little pocket pony who is tucked away in your shirt pocket. "We need to get in because we need another library card. The last one got lost in time." Knickers trotted around the steps. "Things look different, don't they?" You look around the yard, which is now a bit unkempt looking. The grass was overgrown, weeds everywhere, and the hedges were not properly pruned. Odd, it looked fine last year. It looks as though no one has been here for ages. You notice a small hole in one of the academy's windows. "I think I see a broken window. We can crawl in through there." As the two of you carefully crawl through the broken window, you see the grand hall. There are many portraits and artifacts there. You take the time to study each one, even though they are very dusty. "This place looks like it's been empty for over 50 years, Knickers complains as he steps through the fallen papers and rubbish on the floor. "You are right, Knickers, I think we've traveled forward into the future. Let's see if anyone is in the library." "First, I need my magic oats," Knickers said as he cantered down the hallway, trying to find the old mouse hole that he used to live in. "That is where you first found him almost 10 years ago. I hope there are some left," he hollered out as he disappeared in the piles on the floor. "I do too, Knickers," you answer back as you see the butler's picture hanging on the wall. Underneath was a plaque that said, "In honor of all your years of service and loyal companionship." At the end of the hall was a new portrait, one that you have never seen before. It was of the head horse master of the academy, Lord Chancellor Spursnamore. Underneath his name was the inscription, "May his work never be forgotten, 1887 unknown." You wonder what this could mean. It looks as though the master passed on. Perhaps that is why no one is left at the academy. "I don't like the looks of this," you muttered out loud. Was there no one left to carry on the good work of the master? Under the master's portrait, you see the small mouse hole where Knickers used to keep his magic oats. Then, he came out of the hole with a very disappointed look on his face. "There are no more oats," he sighed. Poor Knickers, he was started to look very old, and without his magic oats who knew what would happen? He lay down on the floor and decided to have a little nap. You keep touring around the academy and then decide to check back in on Knickers, but you do not see him. "Knickers, are you here?" "Yes, I'm here," said a sleepy voice, "just taking a nap under these papers." You hear the papers rustle, but you still do not see him. "I cannot see you." "I'm right in front of you," he said with a worried voice. You both groan. "Oh, no, it must have happened again. Knickers must have gone invisible while he was sleeping. Sometimes he has no control of it, and it has happened more than once." "Don't worry, old friend, I shall have to fix you."
Press the pause button, and when you are ready, press the pause button again to continue.
"As you look better now," you tell Knickers as you make your way to the library. "Did you draw fewer wrinkles?" Knickers joked. "Let's find the library." The two of you travel down the darkened hallway until you see a door that has "Enter at your own risk" scrawled on it. You push the squeaky door open to see the dusty, old library. This time there was no librarian to ask if you have a card. You look around the entrance. It was hard to read anything as there was so much dust on all of the books. You continue to search for the instruction on how to fix the time machine, but you come across an interesting book on the evolution of the horse. "Come on, Knickers, you tell the small pony as he hops into your shirt pocket. On the librarian's desk was your library card, well, a new one, with a note that said, "Somehow I just knew you would need another one." It was signed by the librarian. Good thing she thought ahead. Once past the library doors you see rows and rows of books. There was even a balcony for the upper-level books. Huge windows draped the ceiling, allowing in light, making it a little less dark and scary. In the middle of the room was an ornate bookcase encased in glass. It held even more artifacts from the master's journeys. Every time you enter the library, it takes your breath away. Not sure where to begin, you try to go up the staircase to get to the second floor, but it is locked by a small gate. I remember now, Knickers reminded, we need a library card to use the upper wings. You need to use a computer to enter your secret access code and the gate will unlock. Instead you look around the main floor of the library. You and Knickers begin scanning book titles and thumbing through the pages of any interesting books. We know where the journal is, it's in the box in the cabinet. But, we will need instructions for the time machine. You think out loud. Maybe there aren't any. Maybe we will be trapped in the future forever, Knickers whispers. The two of you stroll over to the enlightened bookcase. There were dozens of drawings, scrolls, figurines, books and even a model of a horse skeleton. On the very bottom shelf, tucked away in the deepest corner was a wooden box. It looked like it was hand-carved and had a burnished gold latch. As you undo the latch, the lights flicker in the library. Pausing a moment until the lights stay on, you open the box. A few moths flutter out. Inside the box was an old book. You carefully take it out and blow the dust off. On the front, carved into the leather, were the initials, LCS. Let's take one last look, Nikos said with anticipation. You look inside and read chapter 1. Outside the sky was growing dark. Knickers, we should try and make some notes. Lesson 1, Breeds. The library was peaceful and almost eerily quiet. Well, Knickers, you whisper, it's time to find the instructions to make the timed machine work. The two of you begin to rifle through the deserted library, desperately seeking the missing book. There were books on cowboys, Indians, adventurers, pioneers, the Wild West, the army and classical maneuvers. There were more books on knights, Greeks, Romans, and mythical horses, but no timed machine instructions. I guess it isn't here, you say exhausted, sneezing on the dust in the air. Don't give up, maybe the professor has them in the laboratory. Knickers jumps into your shirt pocket and the two of you walk outside. The laboratory was hard to find in the foggy mist that seemed to stick to the old estate. Weeds marred the old sidewalk. This place used to be beautiful and grand, you mutter, tripping over a fallen tree branch. Finally, you see the old laboratory. The windows were shattered, the roof caved in and the rain gutters hanging off like old rags. Carefully, you make your way inside. The laboratory was cluttered with a mess of books, papers and notes with the professor's scrawls of handwriting. The machine was in the middle of the room. The door creaked as you opened to get inside. Flicking switches, pulling levers, pushing buttons and turning knobs did absolutely nothing. Climbing back out again, you see shards of crystals lying on the floor. Oh, Knickers, these must be what gave the machine its energy. They are completely shattered now. We'll have to find more. Knickers whinnied. You make your way into the professor's office that was left in utter chaos. Well, I guess we'll have to start sorting through these papers. It's sure to turn up sooner or later. Read chapter 3 in the book titled, A Not-So-Secret Journal to the Equestrian World Around You. Lesson 1, The Hoof. Well, we've searched all through the professor's office and I don't see a book about timed machines anywhere. Knickers inquired, why don't we check the noteboard in the office? Good idea, Knickers. The professor was always asking us to find his missing tools. I remember now. You do? Knickers looked up at you questioningly. Yes, for 8 years the professor was working on the time machine and using the rose quartz to power the atomic vacuum for the time combobulator. The sonic oscillator vibrated the sound to break the atoms, and then the turbo core compressor squashed the virtual photons to create negative energy, which opened the wormhole vortex, and the electromagnetic amplifier worked as a capacitor to power the particle accelerator along with the helium. The rainbow mandala coils generated the motor to help the machine travel through the vortex to the other side into a parallel world. However, the rose quartz was not strong enough to work anymore. Wow! Knickers exclaimed, and jumped to the floor. Now we just need the rainbow druzy stone instead of the rose quartz. It looks that way, but we're going to have to reassemble the rainbow mandala. We should collect all of those crystals that are on the lab floor. Then we should head over to the farrier's shed. Maybe he's still here. Quest, you must keep an eye out for the professor's lost book on time machines. You can find it somewhere in this book and need these instructions to fix the time machine and travel into the secret Unit 13. No one was at the farrier's shed, but there was a note on the door saying sorry I missed you. There was a portrait hanging inside. It was of the farrier. You take the time to look around the little building that was filled with tools and horseshoes. There was a forge where a hot fire could be made to melt shoes so that metal could be shaped into shoes that fit the horse's hooves precisely. Keep your mind fresh and study all about the horse's hooves, the farrier's tools and technique as well as problems with hooves. Read Chapter 4 in the book titled, A Not-So-Secret Journal to the Equestrian World Around You. You found everything but the missing book. I miss the farrier, the pocket pony nickered. Me too, you agree? We'll figure out the time machine. Don't worry, we'll go back to the proper time. But, for now, let's head to the stables. Maybe the stable hand is in there. Taking a shortcut through the round bend, you head towards the stables. On your way through the large ring of sand, you want to kick up the sand like you used to do when you were a kid. Instead you go to the large, wooden gate and unlatch it. The gate's hinges let go, causing it to come crashing down. Yikes, that was dangerous. That was a close one, Nikos shuddered inside your pocket. Hey! Look down there, the gate fell on something buried in the sand. Lesson 1, Saddles. You reached down to pick up the strange glowing object. It was an iridescent colored crystal. This must be the rainbow druzy crystal that we need to put into the atomic vacuum. You put it in your pocket. This place is really falling apart. No one was inside either. The stable hand's familiar face was in a portrait hanging on the tack room wall. The tack was still neatly in place, saddles on the stands, bridles on the hooks, but all were covered in a thick layer of dust. This is a shame, you tell Knickers, all this tack is so dirty. I know the stable hand would be very disappointed that no one cared for it. Well, let's clean up a little, perhaps we will find the instructions in here somewhere. Read Chapter 5 in the book titled, A Not-So-Secret Journal to the Equestrian World Around You. Part 2. There, all finished. You say exhausted. Noticing the logo on each article of Tack, you remember the symbol is from the land of Equestrian. The Queen, herself, granted Lord Chancellor use of that symbol. It became the Academy's logo back in 1898. You hear a thud coming from one of the buildings outside. Springing up, you and Knickers run to see where the noise came. Lesson 1, Nutrition. The noise came from the feed shed. The thick weeds and brush grew up around the door and you struggled to open it. Glad to be inside, you slam the big door shut, locking out all the weeds and brush. Groping in the dark for a light switch, you finally flick on the light. A cat was sitting in the corner, hissing at Knickers. That cat must have 9 lives. Knickers walked to you for protection, but something smells really good in here. It's all the old hay, Knickers? You say, staring at the stack of alfalfa square bales. Glancing around the place, you notice some interesting posters on the wall. Read Chapter 6 in the book titled, A Not-So-Secret Journal to the Equestrian World Around You. Part 2. Hey, Knickers, look. It's a recipe for some magic oat cookies. Maybe we should make some in case you need some again. I can't wait, but oh, no. The magic ingredient has been ripped off the card, he said, pointing at the card. Well, let's make some anyways. Maybe we'll find the magic ingredient later on. After mixing the cookies, you put some away in a little bag and put it in your pocket. Just as you turn to leave, you notice something sticking out from behind one of the posters. It was instructions for carefully dissipating the quark-gluon plasma. This is exactly what we need to get rid of the plasma. Oh, Knickers, we are on the right track. You scooped up Knickers and put him in your pocket when you heard a familiar sound outside. It was like thunder, rolling closer and closer, until you saw it was caused by a herd of wild horses running through the estate. You peeked your head outside. Lesson 1, Stables. The horses were running through a maze of weeds and brush, getting tangled and kicking up a storm. You managed to run out and make a bit of noise to help herd them into the paddocks, closing the rickety gate behind them. Not sure whose horses these guys are, but we had better get them calm and make sure the facilities are up to safety standards so none of them get hurt. Read Chapter 7 in the book titled, A Not-So-Secret Journal to the Equestrian World Around You. Part 2. You managed to get all of the horses into safe areas. Everyone was fed and watered, except one horse did not want to eat or drink. Instead, he hung his head and stood very still, not wanting to move. He looks sick, Knickers worried. He sure does. Let's take him over to the health center and see if anyone is there. Lesson 1, First Aid. You were not surprised to find the health center was empty as well. There was another portrait hanging on the wall. Luckily, there were still some medical supplies left in the cupboards. Most of it expired almost 50 years ago. You complain, but eventually found some supplies that wasn't outdated. Read Chapter 8 in the book titled, A Not-So-Secret Journal to the Equestrian World Around You. Part 2. Once done medicating the horse, you walk past the old window that looked out at where the forest used to be. You gasped as you realized the forest was cut down and a small city was there now. How can this happen? You shake your head and walk back to the stables with the sick gelding. Knickers poked his head out of your pocket. Let's check the library to see if there is any record of all this. I bet there is a load of information on the computer. Let's log in. Taped to the library door, you find an old letter addressed to you. The butler must have put this here, hoping we would return.
Open it.
Knickers implored, maybe it will say what happened to everyone. You carefully open the crispy letter. March 1899. Apprentice. By the time this letter arrives, I will be gone. I have been summoned by the Queen to do an important quest. Do not let my departure stop your apprenticeship. Quite the contrary, you see, your next quest has already begun. A worthy apprentice knows his hippology in and out. I expect no less of you. Trust no one, do not leave your work unattended and guard it with your life. There are many out there who wish to take this information for themselves. They twist it until the truth is no longer there. This has caused a rift in the timeline and we must be careful about the future of the horse. There are not many out there who seek the good of the horse. Keep this ancient knowledge only for other like-minded souls. My dear friend, Podajski, said, We must live for the school. Offer our lives to it. Then, perhaps, little by little, the light will grow from the tiny candle we keep lit here, and the great art of the haute école will not be snuffed out. He couldn't have been more correct. And so I leave you with this quest. Prepare your own lecture on a topic of hippology and present it to the others. I trust you will challenge yourself. You must prepare the 1 to 3 minute presentation using different visual media, such as posters, diagrams, video, photos, models and other visual aids. Videotape your speech and either upload it to the internet or put it on CD/DVD and send it in for me to view and comment on. Choose from these topics to study and discuss. 1. Breed of horse that you have not studied before. 2. Discipline, riding discipline in great detail. 3. Arts and crafts, are you itching to get your hands on some art supplies? 4. Authored, for the young horse lover who is filled with stories of their own. 5. Musical, such as drill, pas de deux, etc. 6. Clinic or event, want to get out of the stall and explore the wonderful world of equestrian around you. 7. Driving, don't have your vehicle license? Learn to drive horse and cart instead. 8. Therapy, want to help others who are struggling to ride. 9. Tack, are you a crafty person who wants to try making some kind of tack? 10. Architecture, are you a building, aspiring to build something horse-related? 11. Farrier, are you the kind who wants to care for horses from the hoof up? 12. Vet, or do you want to make sure all horses are happy and healthy? 13. Coach, are you desiring to teach others to ride? 14. Trainer, are you excited to get training horses to do something new? 15. Agility, an obstacle course for horses? 16. Equine mystery, you decide and surprise me. P.S. I am afraid there is no workbook for you and you are all on your own for this project. Put your thinking cap on and make me proud, young apprentice. Your information will be guarded in the Academy's vaults of knowledge in the library's secret wing. Lord Chancellor Spursnamore
was there.
An elderly cowboy came out of the mist, pitchfork in tow and ready to stab an intruder. It's me, the apprentice.
Well, aren't you a sight for sore eyes? Where the heck have you been for the past 50 years? And how come you don't look a day older? A year maybe, but not 50 years.
I'm not too sure how it happened, but let's just say I met with some interesting people who held enormous power. The next thing I knew, I am back here. Then these horses came running through the yard.
Yeah, they are always getting out on me. It's hard to keep up to this place with no help. Everything is falling down.
Where is everyone?
Come on over to the lounge, and I'll tell you all about it.
We walked over to the rider's lounge and entered the front door. I looked down and on a small table by the door was a letter.
Oh, that. They always threatened to shut the professor down, and one day they did. Then, the workers and the machines came to keep logging in the forest. Soon developers came and started building homes, shopping malls, offices, and tons of cement sidewalk where the grass used to grow. Who knows when they will stop building? As I just overheard that a new high-rise has been scheduled to be built by the end of the month. With no more apprentices around to care for the place, there are no apprentices to take over the master's position. It's like no one cares about horses anymore. That broke a lot of hearts and the professor just left.
But Knickers questioned excitedly and then hung his head and walked over to the fireplace and lay down to rest.
He promised me.
I know, Knickers, but the town. They forced him to stop his experiments and said that he would be jailed if he continued to do so. You had been gone for nearly 50 years. We never heard a peep from you or the apprentice.
The coach looked up at me and continued,
You see, without his inventions, we wouldn't know what Knickers was saying.
He hobbled over to pet the little guy. What do you mean? You question.
Have a seat.
The old coach offered.
Stay and I will tell you about it.
The coach went on to describe how the professor was trying to create a machine to enlarge Knickers to the size of a regular horse. However, the machine enlarged Knickers' brain instead. Now the little horse could communicate and learn. The professor is still working on a machine so Knickers can find his family again.
We just don't have the heart to tell him.
Coach stopped talking abruptly.
What the heck was I talking about again?
You were about to tell him, when he slapped his knee and continued.
That's right. So you're the new apprentice, and I need to teach you a few things.
Not yet, please tell me about Knickers. Finish what you wanted to say and then we can chat about the horses. The forgetful, old coach continued on.
Oh, yes. Well, Knickers' mother passed away shortly after Knickers' stroke. Her spirit softened and she just sort of lost her will. She was very old already. The stable hand and I tried everything we could. We held Knickers to her, but she just didn't respond, and Knickers was very scared. He was just a baby.
Knickers came to snuggle by your leg.
I remember now,
he said quietly.
It didn't stop there either, Knickers. In order to survive, the professor made you a special concoction that we put in the oats. Your magic oats. And I'm afraid that there is no more left. With the professor gone, I don't know what to do.
If I can power up the time machine, I may be able to help. Do you know where I could find the vortex? The coach thought for a minute, and then said,
You will have to ride into the city. Find where it used to be. I have one of the horses on the cross ties. Why don't you get him and go over to the riding hall and warm up in there? Be careful heading into the city. It can be a dangerous place. And be warned, with the farrier gone, my horse has no shoes, so you will have to go slow and stay off the hard roads.
You head back to the stables where an old gelding was waiting on the cross ties. You groom him down and saddle him up. Before you bridle, a mouse ran past you and climbed up a shelf. The cat was right behind in a desperate attempt to catch the mouse. There was a loud crash as one of the grooming totes came crashing down. The cat caught the mouse and sat there proudly with the tiny creature in his mouth. Out of here, cat! You holler and bent down to pick up the fallen supplies. That was when you notice a dusty piece of paper stuck to the grooming tote. It said, "Search in the library's secret wing for the gatekeeper code." The cat spotted Knickers, spit the mouse out, and the chase was on. You slip the paper in your pocket and run to scoop up Knickers as the cat was hot on his tail. First we have to clean up this mess. Lesson 1, Catching. I told you I hate cats. Knickers said, panting as you put him in your pockets. Sorry, little fella, I was preoccupied. You lead the old gelding down the weedy path and stop by the once beautiful, indoor, riding hall. Curious, You open the large door and peek inside. The large room was built for riding. The pine boards that trimmed the arena were now falling down, laying in dangerous piles and scattered throughout the arena. The yellowed walls still held the portraits. You paused by one of the trainers. He was one of the first people who helped you mount a horse. "I wonder where he is now," you mutter quietly and then pipe up to Knickers, "We have to get to the city and see if the vortex is still there." Just then the royal symbol made of metal that was hanging on the end wall, fell to the ground. The nail must have let go. Now it lay bent and ruined, a symbol of the dying academy. With a heavy heart, you turn to leave and head to the outdoor arena, not sure what shape it will be in. Read chapter 11 in the book titled, A Not-So-Secret Journal to the Equestrian World Around You. Lesson 1, Moving. On your way out the door, you notice another portrait of a familiar face, the riding instructor. I guess he won't be here either. The riding instructor was a master of classical horsemanship. He had inspired you to ride harder, better and in perfect balance and harmony with your horse. He always challenged you and encouraged you to test your horsemanship skills in the dressage arena. "I hope I can make him proud," you whispered to Knickers. "I'm sure you will," he nodded. Read chapter 12 in the book titled, A Not-So-Secret Journal to the Equestrian World Around You. Part 2. After warming up you look towards the city. "That should do," you think out loud, "but are you ready for what's out there?"